I think that going against the backdrop of the International Criminal Court itself, the fact that it still exists 20 years after it's been set up is a cause for celebration. America, Russia, two major powers, have not joined the treaty, haven't ratified the Treaty of Rome, which established the International Criminal Court. There's a growing sense as to the legitimacy of the International Criminal Court. It is seen by developing countries as a Western establishment set up to punish African leaders and probably developing world, Middle European and Eastern European leaders for crimes committed in their countries, as if in the developed world, in the developed countries, there are no crimes, there's no genocide, there are no crimes against humanity. So to that extent, the fact that they're still standing, to me, is an achievement.
But would you say that it has actually lived up to its mandate, especially in terms of how it's been able to attend to disputes and uphold justice and just bring about some sanity in those disputes that have been brought before it?
I think that to the extent that it is there, and to the extent that there are people still talking about, oh, this leader should be taken to the International Criminal Court, this person should be taken to the International Criminal Court. To that extent, even we hear these things in Nigeria with Boko Haram. This person.
So many of them never get taken, and sometimes people just wonder: is it a figurehead? If people,
it's not a figurehead.
It's so obvious that have committed, especially war crimes or crimes against humanity, they don't end up at the ICC. Many of them are walking free or in their countries. They don't leave, but they're in their countries. Then,
well, the first thing.
Where's the bite?
No, the first thing is that the International Criminal Court is complementary to the state court. So the first obligation is for the state to prosecute its own person. It only comes to the International Criminal Court where, for political or other reasons, the state is unable to prosecute its own national. Or if there's a reference to the United Nations, and then the United Nations then refers the matter to the criminal court. So to that extent, we can't blame the International Criminal Court if states have not fulfilled their responsibility to prosecute their own nationals for crimes against humanity or for genocide.
Right now, we have a president at the helm of affairs at the International Criminal Court, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why President Buhari is there this time. Tell us what your expectations are. What do you think could or perhaps should be different now that he's there?
I'm not sure that anything should be different. I think that the standards that had already been in place will be maintained. I think it's a good sign that a Nigerian has been elected as the president of the criminal court. One, because it showcases the fact that a lot of the rhetoric about Nigerians is not true. We have good Nigerians, we have qualified Nigerians, we have competent Nigerians working quietly in various areas of influence, putting in their best, and are getting to a point where they're being acknowledged. And I think, to me, the fact that this Nigerian has been elected is itself acknowledgement of the fact that there are good things coming forward. I don't see any changes. I just see more of the same.
Now, President Buhari, like I mentioned earlier, is also there at The Hague, and he's met a number of leaders. And, you know, some international observers who are watching this, looking at President Buhari and reflecting on Nigeria's judicial system, looking at the terrorist groups, the likes of Boko Haram, the fight against corruption, the fact that there haven't exactly been major convictions. How do you see them interpreting him being there, in Nigeria being at the helm of the ICC, and the President Buhari being there, and then all that, you know, unsolved or, as it were, clamor around the fact that the judicial system here is not so strong, and when it comes to prosecuting criminals, sometimes it takes, especially high VIP criminals, for lack of a better term, prominent Nigerians who have been found, you know, wanting but have not yet been prosecuted?
Well, it goes to the jurisdiction of the criminal court. One, unfortunately, the International Criminal Court doesn't have jurisdiction over what I would call international corruption, which is a major factor. If countries are being brought to the brink of insolvency as a result of corruption by previous leaders or individuals within those countries, then to me, if the International Criminal Court had jurisdiction in such issues, then if for whatever reason the state judicial system cannot prosecute those persons, either because they fled the country, they're living somewhere abroad, living on their ill-gotten wealth, then perhaps that's something that the International Criminal Court should be looking at. But as of today, they don't have jurisdiction. And if I were President Buhari, that would be a point that I would be making, that the Treaty of Rome needs to be extended to ensure that international corruption is a crime against humanity, at least within that country.
Now, what, I mean, you mentioned the fact that the likes of China, Russia and the US have not signed on to it. How does that affect the ICC, perhaps its ability to gain more significance, if you will, to the eyes of everyone across the globe?
I think it has impacted negatively on the legitimacy of the International Criminal Court, because those countries that do not want their nationals brought to the International Criminal Court see the court as a Western mechanism to suppress or control the developing world by bringing in a system to which they themselves are not a party and to which they have said that their nationals will not be subject. So to me, I think that is a negative.
So next 20 years, what are your expectations? Would you think the court will still be here?
I think the International Court will still be there in the next 20 years. I hope that it would have expanded its jurisdiction, because there are a lot of international crimes that I think that state governments and state parties may not be able to deal with. There's international corruption. We're seeing things such as cybercrime on a worldwide basis that cross borders and cross boundaries. So things such as those as well, to me, they should expand the jurisdiction of the criminal court.